Hey guys, welcome to another commentary done by Diggity. This is going to be Best versus Ssak. Ssak. I should be consistent here and how I'm saying his name, but I'm not gonna be. Just heads up. He's starting in the bottom right hand corner as the red Terran. Bottom left hand corner we have Best as the blue Protoss. This is gonna be on Ascension. Ascension. This will be an interesting play. I've seen Best play very, very well on this map. Mostly because he does a fantastic job of defending his third against vulture harassment. I feel like the meta shifted more towards heavy vulture play. Maybe because of Ascension, arguably, just because of how and I'm not sure if maybe it's a chicken egg thing, but I recall the big vulture meta push for Terran in TVT and both an uptick of its usage in TVP shortly after this map. But it could be, I don't know. Could be one thing, could be another. Pylon out for Best, a very rapid scout. Maybe wanting to see whether he's going up against a quick Nexus or not, or maybe wanting to just get the early scout because he's thinking about opening up a gateway and a Zealot first, and wants to harass Essex base. I'm gonna say Essex, just because it almost sounds like Essex, and I think that's entertaining, but whatever. SCV trying to deal with the probe, might get a gas steal here. So we've got a barracks in construction, 100 gas, and a gas steal. Very nice. And do we have we'll see if it's a gateway. It's not always a Zealot follow-up, but more often than not, it is a Zealot follow-up. An SCV pulling off the line to deal with Best's annoyances on the front. Ooh, getting blockaded initially, so taking some initial damage on the SCV. A second SCV pulling off now to try to deal with this probe harassment. That's a win for Best, certainly. Good economic slowdown on top of the gas steal. We do see an initial Zealot being constructed, so we'll see how much damage Best can get out of this, trying to still harass that supply depot along the edge. And this is at a necessity because you have that. This is now going to have to be the defensive slot to work against initial Zealot pressure. This supply depot not the best for doing the Zealot defense run-bys. First Marine in construction, and the first Zealot already marching its way across the field. Slew of 5 SCVs trying to take down that assimilator. Let's see if 2 of these SCVs are decently damaged, and a proxy pylon. Double proxy pylon in the main, so Best just trying to get as much damage done as possible. Are we going to see a follow-up gas steal? That probe still has a good amount of health. Being boxed out. And it looks like that refinery is going to be taken. The follow-up gas steal is always extremely frustrating. But these Marines are going to have to get in a position to engage this Zealot fairly rapidly. SCV spots the initial Zealot. I think they might have wanted a blockade, but because he didn't want that engineering bay block to follow up. Zealot marching in. We are seeing, it looks like in Nexus, after the initial 2 Zealots, 4th Marine being constructed. 2 pylons have been produced, and Essex still ending up with the overall worker lead as far as a follow-up. Second Zealot marching across, SCV scooting around, and these Marines. So we got 4 versus 2 Zealots, not the best situation, and they're not really in the best protective slot here in the bottom right-hand corner, so they're gonna have to run into the SCV line for defense. Best not following them there, actually. And now a 5th and a 6th Marine, most certainly Essex potentially gonna follow this up. He still hasn't gotten that factory underway. Okay, finally building that factory. A slew of Marines on the front now. Best re-engaging, able to kill 1, 2, he's gonna get 3. So only 3 Marines to follow this up. And if there was going to be a rush, that's certainly going to, as far as a counter push, that was certainly going to stymie that effort. The Zealot's getting some additional hits on the Marines on the front. And the probe getting the final kill, leaving just 2 Marines. And that factory about halfway complete. Nexus completing opposite side, second gateway there. I don't know if I wasn't paying attention enough to see whether range was finished or not. The SCV going to be able to scoot and get plenty of scouting information. A couple additional Zealots being built. Essex going to go ahead and grab that command center as far as a follow-up, and the factory just now finishing. But a significant delay on that factory. This command center coming much later. SCV daring that Zealot. Go ahead and come. Okay, it looks like we are seeing range constructed at this stage. Another probe wandering out. It's gonna have to wait because these Marines should be sufficient to go ahead and deny that scout. And also, it might be pretty easy kill here. Not might be, definitely will be an easy kill. But I think that probe got in range to see that command center in construction. Machine shop dropping. Barracks moving to the front to provide some additional clutter and a defensive bunker. Also being built now that Dragoons are taking the field. Where is that? For a second there, it looked like that gateway took a shot from the phase cannon. From the phase cannon? Phase disruptor. My fault. Citadel of Adun dropping. Straight up. Did Essex see it, though? It was right in front of his face. Pylons dropping as well. So now does this turn into some sort of... I want to see if this is turning into a Dark Templar drop, or whether this is turning into potentially even a delayed High Templar drop. We have a robotics facility after the 2 gateways as well. Either way, best, rather than going for a quick third, building some tech. There's a follow-up maneuver. Interesting play here from Ssak, leaving just a tack of energy. Tack of whatever you want to call this. It's not health, it's building material. He's leaving that last... It's like he's got a big 2x4 beam that's just up against that cliff and was waiting to drop in position, and he was going to see, okay, do I even need this? And instead getting the cancel and getting some of those minerals back. 2 siege tanks out, another factory being constructed, +1 weapons on the way. So maybe just wants to play towards 3 base. A Dragoon looking to at least deny that Vulture some mine placement on the front. One thing about this map is there is a huge amount of drop area. So if it is a DT drop, and it looks like it is going to be, by the way, we have 2 Dark Templar in construction. There is a lot of space to make that happen. Another mine dropped just in case there's a rapid move to a 4th. Not a lot of Vulture pressure. Just the 3 siege tanks of Goliath being produced to respect potential Reaver play, but we don't have an engineering bay. We have a starport. We do have an academy. Comsat station just now being built, but that's going to be built as the Dark Templar are already on the way. So oh man, this is going to be huge. Does he use one or both Comsats? And secondarily, does he catch the Templar archives with either of them? So we're going to try to... I can't unfortunately do the blinding things to see where they get dumped. But Comsat being saved. Here come the Dark Templar, so at least he recognizes the threat. 1 Dark Templar dropped, getting initial hits. First Comsat, able to damage, actually able to take out 1 of the Dark Templar. Both of them taking out. Nice defense by Ssak. 1 Comsat got them both. Very nice. And the shuttle also getting wiped out. So, not saying Best is out of it, but that was a big investment of material that did not end up going anyplace. Photon cannon being morphed in here at the 6 o'clock. Some Dragoons marching out in forward field. Missile turret at the natural expansion. Some siege tanks, Goliaths. Vultures hanging out, engineering bay. All the usual stuff you see. Best 10 supply up. Usually wanted to be a little bit higher than that at this stage. He does have a good worker lead. Is already moving in position to try to make sure that he's got a threat around that 3rd. To make sure that there's not going to be a quick 3 base grab, but we see dropship, which could potentially load up with either Vultures or siege tanks. One thing that Best has done, that I should say Ssak really hasn't exploited Vulture movement on this map at all. Best doing a great job of anticipating initial Vulture play, and look at this, catching and wiping out Vultures as they have that hurts a lot. No mines even there. And it looks like Ssak is going for that 3rd command center, so that's halfway finished, and he's going to do this behind a drop. Single siege tank, 2 Vultures wandering out. Well, let's see where this drop goes. Like I said, there's a big area to drop. The Zealots just spawning, so spotting this, they're going to be in prime position to engage. So unfortunately for Ssak, that was, if he had gotten it at the very beginning of a unit cycle right there. Might have had more action out of that. Instead, only able to drop a vulture, lose it. But this is drawing a lot of units out of position for him to go ahead and take territory and move up to that third base somewhat undisturbed. Mine blockading that third base in the meantime. Ssak regrouping. There's a cannon at the main, but most of the units have piled out here to the north, so I'm wondering if that's going to turn into something down the line. Best staging to go ahead and grab his fort. The observer seeing the SCV and troops now moving up. Tank and vulture right there. I'm going to try to keep an eye on that because there are opportunities down the line. Problem for Ssak is he's got to use ComSat, whereas we have the full caster view to see what's going on. Command center floating up. Best, unfortunately, a little bit late, I believe, especially with this supply depot and clutter, and this is a good amount of siege tanks to prevent this third from being built. He is moving a lot of troops in position, including a ton of zealots. Has gone to Arbiter Tech in the meantime. Now that dropship moving in. And I don't think Best recognized that it was going to be a siege tank here, so going to lose a few probes. Also, upon that, just diving in to the third. Zealots not able to take out a siege tank right there. Bunkers up, but no Marines in it. And this is just a lot of clutter. You can see Best having a great difficulty getting across. Still getting siege tanks regardless. Defense matrix now on the forward siege tank. And it looks like the siege tank's just out of position where Best able to make it work. So able to take out a few siege tanks and force a liftoff. So that's going to be a retreat. Looks like the attack was cleaned up in the meantime. Best took minimal losses. That cannon's still in place. Command Center going to try to float right back out. A couple additional Dragoons getting wiped out. Dragoon's going to try to hide at the furthest reach to try to tempt another siege tank out so they can get another shot at a Zealot run. A lot of vultures in position to disrupt that. Yeah, the Zealot's going to try to sweep down again. Actually, they're going to try to concentrate fire that command center down. Group repair, going to keep it alive. This is delaying some mining time, but costing Best some troops. And that's opening up a vulture counterattack, potentially. We only have 2 cannons at the fourth. No probes saturating there yet. Only 1 cannon at the third. Mines being planted and a big move out. So now Best's going to have to scramble, and he's got mostly Zealots to try to engage these vultures. A lot of mines getting planted mid-position. We do see, by the way, the recall upgrade behind this, so it looks like Best wants to follow this up with recall play. Ssak has +2 weapons, +1 armor. Another drop moving in. Got a pylon blockade inside of his own base, but that means the Zealots with speed have to sneak through, and they're just going to try to utilize the lack of space to make that happen. Some vultures in numbers attacking probes there at the fourth. Best has fallen behind now in the overall worker count. But keep in mind, this base was mining somewhat later. Still a sizable 20 supply lead. More vultures dropping. Mostly getting some mines to be frustrating along that back edge. I don't know that they're going to get a lot else. See if a sacrificial zealot makes its way that direction. Trying to work on that. Wow, actually might be able to get that cannon over the edge. Not getting any probe kills. Some probes delaying on gas. Ugh, one of them getting wiped out. Let's see if Best remembers to get that. I want to see if he remembers to get that third probe back in there, or if he keeps it at 2 for the long haul. Okay, he does get that third probe back in. Important, but now we got a recall for counterattack moving into the main, and Ssak completely out of position to deal with this, lifting off the command center immediately and evacuating the SCVs. And this was as he was dropping a sizable amount of factories as well. Science vessel finally in position to help deal with this. He's in the red as some supply depots have gotten wiped out. Science facility, while it was trying to research EMP, is going to get wiped out. And Best all of a sudden is surged to a massive supply lead. And Ssak in the red. Fantastic recall, marching some more troops. It looks like they're going to have to absorb some mine hits along the way. But great play overall from Best, really slowing down Ssak's economy. It's going to be a minute before he's able to stabilize and reestablish everything. I'm not going to say that's game over, but that fantastic maneuver. It's going to be a minute before 3-2 hits. That is a big power spike for any Terran player, but this is such a huge supply lead for Best. Moving in another observer to see if he's maybe got some... And this is a huge amount of zealots. I worry about these siege tanks' lives, because yeah, there's a lot of supply depots in the way, but this might be enough zealots to just storm through it regardless. In an absolute blitzkrieg. I don't know how many arbiters are out in the field, and I don't want to move away from this position just in case to try to check. Okay, we do have another arbiter. It looks like it's just about gathering energy. This could also be for just a follow-up recall. Yeah, I think it's going to be a recall. So that army was comsatted to the north. Looks like some troops are moving back to try to defend. But the recall going to land at the same position. Siege tanks are here. Huge amount of zealots in this complement, though. Defense matrix on that forward siege tank, absolutely huge. Gonna make it a lot harder for these zealots to get as much damage done as they wanted. Another liftoff, though. And more troops moving out mid-map. I'm wondering if they're gonna try to take another assault here at the 3 o'clock location. We do have a good amount of siege tanks there. So this time, looks like it's gonna get cleaned up. I don't think as much got accomplished. It got the starport, which might delay some additional science vessels. But it is not going to stop +3 weapons and +2 armor from finishing by any means. Best gonna try to get another base at the 12 o'clock to try to keep that economic game rolling. Doesn't have enough energy for an additional recall, but might be able to get a solid stasis if you wanted to assault that third. Also want to note that he's got this interior base up and running. That dropship is empty, but might be able to provide some spotting in the meantime. Feels like this factory's been building forever. 9 factory count, 3 machine shops. About where you'd expect it to be. I think the probes might have been spotted in movement. A single Dragoon and Observer clearing that out. No map control at all for Ssak, but he is sitting back on these 3 bases, making his way towards a maxed out Terran army. And let's see if Best can get some additional favorable trades after this, putting himself actually in the red to open up his troops to go ahead and get to that high ground plateau. I assume he's just trying to make movements to grab a 4th. But while that happened, another well-timed recall from Best. He's like, okay, you're moving out to that high ground. Let me go ahead and just scatter your troops and make sure they have to engage. Another lift off that command center at the main. I don't know that the Zealot's actually getting shredded, though. Not getting a lot else, but at the very least, keeping Ssak in more of a defensive posture. Left those tanks to siege. Best still trying to go for some supply depots back here. And moving in with the siege tanks to the north. Unfortunately, I think he thought this area had been evacuated. Instead, the siege tanks remaining, so losing portions of an army, stasising and retreating. Also, these probes look like they did some distance mining for a minute. So went all the way back and on a full cycle right there. Best in a pretty strong economic spot, but with that last recall, the supply counts have evened out. Psystorm catching another Psystorm, catching a lot of the siege tanks as they're trying to move out. That will help soften things up. Ssak still behind in workers overall, but ahead 20 supply over Best right this second. So Best needs to hold on for a chunk of time, and wow, is he going to be able to stop all of this mech? Ssak just pushing into this, diving forward, obliterating a lot of troops. Best evacuating to the north. Ssak holding the mid-map uncontested. More vultures pushing forward. I don't see any way that Best defends this interior 3 o'clock. I think he's happy to lose that just to get some time to rebuild some troops. Going for a cutoff of any reinforcements. Does he have any additional arbiters? He does have another arbiter. Is he going to try to fake a recall? So moving the arbiter into the main, or did he already spend the energy? I think this is just a fake. Yeah, he's just trying to draw the troops back to buy himself some time. Still losing this interior nexus. Now moving in with some zealots. Getting between point A and point B. The arbiter dies, but it at least gave Ssak some pause for thought. Best's army grouping up to maybe take a shot at this, but this is a big siege line and plenty of vultures and Goliaths to defend. Best remaxed does need to do something about this army. He's got 3 angles of attack. It looks like some Dragoons now moving from the north. The tank's not sieged, just now sieging. Vulture's able to keep those initial Dragoons back, and I don't like this engagement, but a great stasis. Getting all of those bunch up siege tanks to the north, and Best with the follow-up able to carve up the southern siege tanks and wipe out the rest of the vultures incoming. What a great engagement from Best, and with that, Ssak calling GG right there. That was an obliteration. Let's rewind. That was about as gorgeous. This is something Best is just incredible at. Let's get back to that final moment once again. Just because that was beautiful. Very calculated as well. So first of all, moving the troops across to make sure additional vultures don't peel in for additional mine support, and also zealot blockading, leaving it just siege tanks and a handful of zealots potentially. There's the fake arbiter, drawing a lot of these reinforcements back. Dragoons and zealots sweeping in from the south, cutting off reinforcements there as well. Get the 1,000-foot view here. But look at the siege line. This is extremely intimidating. It looks like a lot of these siege tanks were softened up earlier from those previous Psy Storms, so keep that in mind. But Best hits 200 right here. A little bit. Feels so slow after you've gone fast as 200, but look at this engagement as the tanks are sieging, able to move in on top of this. And what a beautiful stasis right there. The vultures trying to come in to defend a mine drag that was enormous in the middle of all that. Wow. Great attack from Best. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Thanks for listening.